Welcome to once again to the Autosportradio.com 2020 show. We are coming to you from the Grant King Race Shops, 8155 Crawfordsville Road. When things open up and you can move about and can come down here, you need to come in. It's a working museum, great cars on display. They're all new, so that's why you don't see them anymore. Today's show is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series, SVRA, and McGilvery's Pub and Eatery in Speedway. Do you have trouble with your computer? I do all the time. We have a new computer guy. It's A+ Affordable Computer Doctor. Steve Freeze is the doctor. If you have a problem and he can't solve it any other way, you'll make a house call. Give him a call. Talk to him. See what he can do to help you. Number is 317-328-0766. And everybody's favorite doctor's visit is a dentist. Well, I can recommend the very best in the state. The Indy Dental Group, Indy 500 veteran Dr. Jack Miller and his wife, Dr. Liz Lewis, have a phenomenal practice. Give them a call, make an appointment. You'll be glad you did. Trust me. 317-846-6125. And have you ever wondered what it would be like to drive your favorite race car in one of your favorite tracks? The dirt car midgets at the Chili Bowl or to a Formula One car at Nürburgring. Indy Simulation can put you in the driver's seat of their Sim Experience full motion race simulator. Take your choice of over 160 cars and tracks in the iRacing same simulation professional drivers use to race their real world rivals. Learn tracks and stay sharp between races. Just visit indysim.com today and book your free demonstration drive. It works, it's fun. Try it. Believe me, you'll enjoy it. If you haven't subscribed to the Indy Racing Time or Classic Racing Times newsletter, you need to do it. It's a great publication. It's got some really interesting, great stories. Just go to theclassicracingtimes.com and subscribe. If and when you get a chance, when they can run again, you need to take a ride in the Indy Racing Experience two-seater. It is the best experience you'll ever have, and you really get the feel of what an Indy car is like. Just go to indyracingexperience.com and find a date they're running and you can make. And in the promo box, put DK1, you get a 50% discount, or you can call Shonda at the office, 317-243-7171. Is it time yet to renew your insurance for your home, your car, or commercial property? And do what a lot of us have done. One just did yesterday, actually. Call VP Insurance. They're located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. Talk to Mike Pardee. He'll give you a better coverage for less money. He's done it for me. He can do it for you. The number is 317-248-0070. That's VP Insurance and Speedway, 317-248-0070. If you have an interest in vintage racing or the Trans Am series, they're back, hopefully running from time to time. But you need to subscribe to their Speed Tour magazine. It's a great publication. It tells you what to look for when you go in the cities where they're having an event. Go to svra.com and subscribe to Speed Tour. And while you're there, check the schedule and see where they're running. As well as, do you have a vintage car? Would you like one? The Grant King shops can help you out. If you've got a car, they can restore it. If you'd like to get one, they can help you get one. Just give them a call and talk to them. The number is 317-820-3595. Now, my guest today is the President and Chief Executive Officer of Penske Entertainment. Please welcome Mr. Mark Miles. And Mark, I appreciate you taking the time. Got to be busy. We're doing this on Tuesday, and the track opens tomorrow, the 12th. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's a pleasure to be with you. Yeah, I'm looking out my office window and hoping that we have this fair a sky tomorrow when we get the cars back on the track and see the veterans and the rookies make their way back out there and get us going.
Well, I just heard the weather forecast, and it's supposed to be somewhat the same tomorrow as it is today. So that's a positive.
Perfect.
You hear a lot of, like yourself, President and Chief Executive Officer. What is the job of a Chief Executive Officer?
Well, from a legal perspective, the corporation has a CEO, Chief Executive Officer, sometimes also called the President, and they are responsible for the management of the organization from a legal perspective. In fact, what it means is whatever a company wants it to be. So for us, I think it's very much a team with Roger Penske and myself and at IMS, Doug Bowles and John Lewis and Allison Millington, and at INDYCAR, Jay Fry, and at IMS Productions, Kevin Sublett. So we've got a team of people. I guess when somebody has to decide, it falls to the CEO, if not Roger. But it's really to look after the planning of the business and making sure that all the administrative matters are taken care of, and that we've got a strategy and that we execute. We've got a great team of people on board to make the execution possible.
I have to think in all of the events that you've been involved in as a leader for the Super Bowl, the World Tennis Association building it into something that they never dreamed possible, the Pan Am Games, things you've been involved in my mind, this, in the last 3 months, has got to probably be the most difficult job you've ever had and been involved in.
Well, I think you could say that for the world, right? I mean, there's just, in my lifetime, nothing like this COVID pandemic. Every day, your assumptions have to change. We're having a conversation today about if an employee tests positive and they go home and they're quarantined, and hopefully they're not really sick, not badly sick. Right now, the Center for Disease Control says that after 2 weeks of isolation, they can come back to work. Well, we just had word of someone who tested positive, stayed home for 2 weeks for reasons not required by us, chose to have another test, still positive. So all the assumptions change all the time. I'm giving you one tiny little example, but that has made this an incredibly challenging period for all of us. It's not just our business, it's live sports in general, it's the economy in our city and state, it's the challenges faced by our sponsors and our broadcasters. But honestly, I don't feel discriminated against. I feel like it's hard to imagine what business anybody could be in, or what way of life somebody might be in, without having incredibly daunting and to some extent, hopefully, unique challenges.
It seems like, and I've talked to a number of people, I've tried to get on a program, and they said, we meet almost daily, and sometimes our meetings go into early to mid-evening. So you guys have been working to try and cover every possible thing that could go wrong. And fortunately you did, because several things have changed rather dramatically and very quickly. How difficult a decision, because as everyone is aware, yourself, of course, that Roger said he would not run the 500 without fans. Well, all of a sudden it turned out that can't happen. Was that a tough decision, or was that, well, that's it, let's do it? Was there any thought about moving perhaps till October?
Well, I think you're going to have a hard time coming up. I hope you'll have a hard time coming up with a question like, did you think about, where the answer isn't, yes, we thought about it. Our job is to have thought of every possibility and, put a line through the ones that don't work and keep as options the ones which are possible. So yeah, we thought about moving to October, just wasn't going to work better. And there were really 2 or 3 big reasons for that. One is that most experts were predicting for the last many, many weeks that as the fall comes up here in North America, temperatures begin to get colder. Kids, young people go back to schools. You have the confluence of the flu season, the regular flu season, and COVID, that things could get even more challenging. That translates into a better chance of doing it in late August, the summer still, than in the fall. So that's the first thing. Then you have issues that matter, like what else is going on in the world. Today we still don't know, but are you going to have NFL football? Are you going to have college football? What is NBC going to have in the way of broadcast commitments? They clear out on race day alone on NBC, the network, from 1 to 6 in August. That wasn't going to be possible in early October, not even close to that. So there's a whole lot of different considerations, but I'd like to believe, we looked at all of them that could be thought about and anticipated, and for us it was do it now. at the end of the day, it's a painful decision to make because everybody here spent so much time being in a position to do the event with some level of fans, because it means so much to us to have the fans here. We know what it means for fans who've been here for so many years to be here. It was also painful because Roger Penske had continued to invest and our people had continued to work to improve the facility. And we're excited about the opportunity that'll come eventually to show our fans how much younger this place looks, all the improvements. And it was important to us from the point of view of the overall central Indiana economy. We're in the camp of people who want to see things coming back. The last thing we want to be part of is shutting down again. So for all those reasons, it was a painful decision to have to decide not to do it with fans. But I would say, and I'm sorry this is a long answer, but
That's all right.
it was the end of a long process. At the end of the day, it was really a clear answer. We said all along we can have the best plan, and I think we did have the best plan for a big event on the planet. And it had been approved as a plan, as the blueprint for how to get people together and implement all the right COVID procedures to keep people as safe as possible. But no matter what that plan looked like, if what we call the healthcare metrics, the number of people with the infections, the percentage of people who take a test and are positive, and many others, if they all were improving, then green light, green flag in this case. If they were declining, it was going to be very tough. My own view is that if we were where we were in late June, we could be doing the race today. But in fact, after July 4th, in central Indiana, in Marion County, things just continued to deteriorate, and they have continued to do so since we made our announcement. So, when you looked at the healthcare situation, it was pretty apparent that it was not going to make sense for us to go forward with fans.
Well, and I totally agree. I think my thought was that's what's going to happen. It's going to get to the point where there's going to be no spectators. But from a fan standpoint, in my opinion, that could be, if you can't get here, I understand television is going to be such in the time available that the fans will be able to see some of the improvements that have been made. That there will be parts of the telecast where they take a driver and you talk about whatever area you're looking at. And people will be able to see, holy smoke, look at the changes, and be anxious to get back and see everything next year. So I think, in my mind, that's good, that you'll be able to do that. And it'll be a lot more television time, I think, than normal. And the other thing that I find interesting is all the three other major professional sports, baseball, basketball, and hockey, their television ratings aren't all that spectacular. But IndyCar has been holding their own quite well. So I think when people realize, well, we can't go to the track and my ticket was $100, I can go get NBC Gold for $50 or whatever it is. Aha, I can still watch everything on television and see something rather than nothing. So I think, to me, I think it can work out good to a degree.
Well, I think that's why it was so important that ultimately we do the race, even if it's without fans, because we still can get in front of millions of people and they'll get a sense of what's happened here for the last months to prepare. They'll see how fantastic IndyCar racing is on the track. They'll get to know our drivers better. We'll crown a new champion, and all that is hugely important. Saying that, and so I'm glad we're doing it at the end of the day, but it didn't make it any less disappointing that we couldn't share the 104th with all the people that we know wanted to be here.
And it was pointed out a little earlier in the day, I mentioned, and I hadn't thought of this, I had mentioned the fact that, it's kind of a disappointment. You win the Indianapolis 500, the biggest single-day sporting event in the world. You jump out of your car and the only people cheering is your crew. You don't have the 300,000 people screaming and yelling. However, you will not be forgotten.
Nope, that face is still going to go on the Borg Warner. And there'll still be media tours, whether they're virtual or reality, and the winner will take their place in history. So Those are all the reasons that it made sense to go forward.
Alexander Rossi will never be forgotten for winning the 100th, and the 104th will never be forgotten for the guy that ran it in front of nobody. So you will be famous no matter what. How much, one of the things that impresses me about what you have brought to the table is with all the sporting events you've been involved in, you know a lot of people, and you know and have brought in the right people for the right jobs, I think. Because I get to talk to them and I invite them on and they come and talk on auto sport. And I think to me that's huge, being able to get the right people in the right spot to make an organization function the way you want it to function.
Well, it is. Human capital sounds like some kind of professor. The people in an organization make the organization what it is. And in some respects, you're only as good as the weakest link. So I'm really proud that the organization is in a really good place, because I think the entire team is populated with really strong people who have very relevant experience, deep experience, a passion for IndyCar racing or the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And every one of them is honest, hardworking, and a team player. We've probably all worked in places where it was all internal politics and somebody could kind of get information and keep it close to the vest and not share it for the benefit of the team. I don't think there's anybody here like that, because that's just not the way we're going to be. And as a result, I think we have a place people want to work, and we have a team that can execute aggressive, high pressure events like nobody else.
Well, I've spoken with a number of your people you're mentioning that attend, and I understand Roger, almost every week when he's in town, he has a staff meeting where everybody gets together, you sit around the conference table and discuss things, what can happen. And you might be on a subject that has nothing to do with media, but yet the media vice president, whoever, will be asked, what do you think? That the door is open to anybody, because just because you handle selling widgets at the Speedway doesn't mean that you don't have an idea on something else that nobody thought of. Now, to me, that makes a team function, I think.
Yeah, no, he's remarkable. I mean, there's so many things going on in that observation. No matter how connected we may think we are, people around see what's really going on more broadly than just a couple people would. So to have a broader view on any question is usually very helpful. It's also invigorating and empowering, and people, having their opinion or their ideas sought out, respond to that by being motivated, by feeling appreciated. And for a long time, I'm sort of bastardizing a quote from a long-time American philosopher that said, "None of us is as smart as some of us," which is kind of the way I've always looked at it. If I can get a bunch of smart people around, we can work together, then we're going to get to a better answer than any one of us would ever come to on our own.
One of the things that happened shortly after the transition to the new stewardship was the Indy Lights got in trouble. And as a result, they canceled the season. Now, excuse me, I had heard that Roger had an idea and wants IndyCar teams to either associate with or start an Indy Lights team. Is that still in the process of being worked on?
Yeah, well, we're working internally and with Dan Anderson to think about next year and next season and how to make it bigger and better and an even more potent top rung of the IndyCar ladder series. It's served a really good purpose. We very well the number of drivers who've come up through the ladder series and quickly taken their place in IndyCar racing. And so that's really important, but we think it can be improved. It's too early to be talking about what that might look like. It might very well be 2022 before we could see a whole systemic change. But I think it's wonderful that Roger thinks that there's opportunity, and with opportunity, there's it'll require some shifting of the strategy. it would be wonderful if, and I think Dan Anderson feels this way, if we could get more IndyCar teams involved, that'd be great. If it made more sense for them to be involved than the equation today, then we could expect more of them to be involved. So we haven't even really gotten to starting to talk to teams about what they think and what's possible. But we get through this this August and we turn our attention to next year and beyond, and I think that'll be a hot topic.
If I remember right, when the Indy Lights first started, that was the intention, is hopefully they would have some IndyCar teams start, and some of them did. I mean, Sam Schmidt had them, Andretti's got them. There's a number of teams that do have them, and I think it's a great idea. Other thing that caught my attention was Roger had said, with the problems going on, that he was going to increase the money in the Winter Circle program, and has paid it. Even if they didn't run, they still got it, which is helping a lot of the smaller teams continue on. There's nothing that escapes this man, it doesn't seem to me. In all the years that I don't know him, but I know who he is, and he's seen me wander around for the last 40 years, that he doesn't miss much. I mean, the first time I ever saw him race, what impressed me the most was his team was immaculate. His driver suit was pressed. His guys were all, ironed. Their clothes were perfect. And I went up and shook his hand and told him that. And of course, he doesn't remember, and I don't remember that much about it. It was in 1956. But that's the way he's always been. And he obviously hasn't changed any. His people around him think the same way.
Well, think of it this way. I mean, it's almost like his entire career has molded him to be the perfect person for these roles. He, operated major racetracks. He built major racetracks. He knows the promoter side of the business still. At Belle Isle in Detroit. He obviously owned a team, still owns a team, probably the most successful team in IndyCar racing and probably all of motorsport. So he's got the promoter side, the track side, the team side, and he's seen different approaches to the sanctioning body side, from being involved with us, being involved with NASCAR, being involved with IMSA, even Formula One. So I just think he has seen it all, and when he's involved, he's involved. As you say, no detail escapes his attention. So he's just got the perfect experience set. And then there's the fact that he's really bright. He's a tireless worker. He puts more effort into everything than anybody I know. And the results of all that, the experience, the capacity, the work ethic, make him the perfect guy for this.
And if I may say so, without trying to sound like I'm trying to blow smoke somewhere, your description of what he brings to the table, I think, is with you as well in what you'd bring to the table, in my opinion, because you've shown with the people you brought in to make the series and make the Speedway better. They've all, done, and it impresses me that works for you as so well. One of the things that I was, one of the press conferences, and I can't think of the man's name, it's the president of Penske Enterprises or Corporation. I said, how many car dealerships has he got? He's got, I think he said 100 or something. I said, how does he ever see them? He sees them all at least once. He just pops in. So the man is on the move all the time, every day, all day. He's somewhere, and I understand he's here at least once a week.
Yeah, I don't think there's been an exception to him being here at least once a week, Saturdays, but almost all the time he's been here an additional day. So call it Tuesday or Thursday, sometimes more. This is very close to his heart. This is a passion, and he's finding a way to not neglect, all the other businesses that he is responsible for, while getting a hold of this new one to him, where he can really dig deeply into it and throw his heart into it. And it's been very motivational for our whole team here, because especially in these COVID times, right, when it would be easy to get down. It would have been easy to lack for capital. But Roger has continued to invest and to continue to espouse and to epitomize the philosophy that if there's a challenge, there's an opportunity. So we're never going to be looking backwards about the challenges. We're going to be looking for what's next. What can we do? What can we do better? What can we do better than anybody else to come out of things in the future in even better shape?
Yeah, I've been told by a number of people that work there that Roger doesn't think of this as a problem. It is an opportunity, and he takes advantage of all of it. And one of the things that impressed me, one of the first things he did, and I'm not sure he had closed the sale on it quite yet, but he put a flag in front of the admin building. I said, what's the first thing he did? That thing, the flag. He put that up almost immediately, which I thought was pretty impressive, to me, which shows.
Just let me elaborate. He is deeply patriotic, and that flag stand in front of the admin building is a great example of it. He's deeply committed to the communities where he operates. He was so moved on the day when we had the memorial service for the patrolman in IMPD that fell. I mean, it was heart-wrenching. And he might have been in Detroit that day, but I know how much it meant to him, how sad, of course, in the one way, but how pleased in the other way that this place could be an appropriate part of those services in pulling the community together. And then he cares about this, how the fans will react. So again, I'm looking out my window out here, and all the way up and down Georgetown Road now, there are new flagpoles every 40 feet on the new fence halfway out in Georgetown Road. And there's a flag on top of every one of them with the right kind of ball on top of it that shines just right. And the same's true on 16th Street. He's just passionate about this, reflecting well on his family and on and living up to the ethos of this special place.
Something else that impressed me was he took at the main gate, over the top of the gate, it says Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Prior to his arrival, you really couldn't see it that well in the day, and at night you couldn't see it at all. And he almost immediately, or one of the first things he did was change that so it's black during the day and you can see it, and it lights up at night. You can see it then. So when you come by here, there's no question. Where's the Speedway? Right there.
Well, if you stay in the Conrad Hotel when you're visiting Indianapolis, and you go home from your office at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway late at night, then you could go a way that gets you headed east, on Washington Street, and you go by the Indianapolis Zoo. And if you look to your north, the zoo, Indianapolis Zoo is right up there in lights. And I know that for about a week or so, he must have driven by that at night. And then he came in one morning and said, these signs need to be lit up at night because it looks great. And it does. We did it for Gate 1 right outside my office, and then Tunnel 2. And it just looks great. It makes everybody who goes by it feel good.
It's amazing. You put ideas together with people, and you allow, like you said earlier, you allow people to be a part of what's going on, being asked, what do you think? I got to think from your perspective, that pulls your team, as you had pointed out, together, that people are willing to work. They'll give the extra time and effort to make things succeed. And of course, Roger being there all the time as well, setting an example. Well, he can do it. We sure as hell better do it. And everything seems to be, in my opinion, working well. And I think also with Jay Fry, you put Jay as president of INDYCAR, to me is a good move. I think his experience as an owner of a team in another series, and I'm quite certain, and I've heard this, that when you went to them, to that management, they didn't really care. But now you have a question for Jay, he'll talk to you. He'll listen to what you have, what you say, and we'll take it into consideration. And I think what he's done with INDYCAR, he said, we're going to do this at such and such a date, and it was done. We're going to do this, and this is what's happening. I think that is showing the teams that somebody's listening, and that we're going to make it better, and he's going to help us.
Yeah, he's done a terrific job. He's been over there a few years now. Time flies, but
yeah.
most recently the successful, I think, introduction of the Aero Kit, just a huge thing. When I see drivers get out of those cars after something has happened on the track now, and they're visibly relieved, that somebody didn't get hurt when something happened, where they probably would have or might have been hurt before. It's just huge for us that kind of innovation could make that kind of a difference, and it is. And I think it looks pretty hot too. I think it looks pretty good. So I don't know if you saw it, but Ed Carpenter was on the Fox and Friends a morning last week, introducing his car with the U.S. I'll get it wrong, but the Air Force Command, the new service for space, and the car was on the screen, and it looked like a rocket. It just looked so cool with the livery and the windscreen and the rest of it. So it looks great, and it's doing its job, and it's a great example of Jay's leadership.
And I think they haven't said, well, this is good enough. They're working to make it better, make it more comfortable for the drivers, because as you noticed, and I think I forget what track it was, Iowa or somewhere, drivers got out of the car exhausted. One of them fainted, I guess. However, Scott Dixon did not. He got out of his car, looked like he could run another race. It wasn't bothering him. But they're trying to do things to improve the comfort for the driver, so that it's not 900 degrees in those things, and which will help, I'm sure. The other thing that I think is really great and has been for years, obviously, is the traveling safety team. When these guys have a problem, they're quite sure that when they open their eyes and look, they'll recognize who's there. They know the guys and gals, and they know what they're capable of, and that they're there to protect them. I think, to me, that's a huge advantage for somebody in this sport, where you can get yourself hurt pretty seriously.
Yeah, many years ago, that was, I think, probably under Tony George, an innovation that, by God, we're going to be that committed. We're going to send our safety trucks equipped the way they need to be, with our people who have the right backgrounds, the right EMS backgrounds and medical backgrounds, and they're going to be the only ones, basically, that lay hands on our drivers. And that creates, again, a lot of comfort for the drivers. I'm sure it saves lives. They're the right people doing it now, under the leadership of Tim Boffman, who's a remarkable guy. He's a Wabash College grad, and then
really?
in EMS, and went to the Indianapolis Fire Department, became a deputy chief before his retirement. All the while, he's working weekends as part of IndyCar safety. And then when he got to the point where retirement made sense from him from IFD, he came over, and he's now the full-time guy in charge of our safety group. And it's always going to be looking to get better. They worked, for example, hand in hand with Jay and the engineers as the aero screen was being developed, so they could think about what kind of special equipment they might need to cut people out quickly. Yeah. How to extricate a driver, and that stuff's all in the trucks, and they practice it. And it's just the most recent new detail of how they stay ahead of their job and ready for whatever might happen.
Well, getting back to the race, one last question. When Roger took over stewardship, he wanted to increase the purse, and he was going to, and did, put in $2 million to bring it from 13 to 15 million. Then he realized, or it came to the realization, there's a problem, we need to, and they cut the purse in half. But he left his money there and cut it in half. He only has to put in part of it. Was there any squawking from the teams that, hey, the purse, we need the purse? Did you get a lot of feedback on that?
Zero.
That's what I thought.
And I think it's a really telling thing. Roger had made it clear by committing a new $2 million back in, I guess it was at the test in Barber in February. But nobody asked him to do it. He just stepped up and said, we're going to do that. And that meant a lot, I think, to the team owners and the drivers. And then when we got to the point where we couldn't see how to have fans, and everybody can imagine, even if they don't know exactly what the negative economic consequences of all that is, it only made sense for Roger to be in a position to reduce what would have been paid. And he announced that in an in-person meeting with the team owners. There were a few on the phone, but basically he was talking to all of them. Not one, it was just crickets. In fact, the first thing I think that was said might have been from Chip Ganassi, who said, "Roger, we appreciate everything you're doing." And that was genuinely, it wasn't like people suppressed themselves. They may have been disappointed that it wasn't as much as they'd hoped, but there wasn't anybody who didn't understand the circumstances and who didn't appreciate what Roger is doing.
And I think I saw Chip said, you know, we don't run for the money. Of course, he can say that, but we're here to win the race. That's what we're all here. 33 cars want to win. That's what we're here for. The prize money is great. So I think, and I'm not surprised that nobody squawked about it, because this is the greatest sporting event in the world. You'll be able to watch it on television a lot more hours than you normally would. So sign up for NBC Gold if you don't have it. I've got it, and I'll be glued there. I got to get all my yard work done before the weekend when everything starts to happen. So
I think, Don, we got almost 45 hours for Gold, SN, and NBC from IMS beginning tomorrow. So you better get that yard work in early.
Well, I got to go home and cut the grass today. So when I leave here, all right. I appreciate your time. We're looking forward to a great 2 weeks practice and qualifying, and then of course the race. What is Carb Day is still going to? Are they going to have Carb Day sort of like?
Yeah, well, Carb Day is fundamentally the Friday the beginning of race weekend.
Yeah.
The last day we're on the track. We won't be on the track on Saturday, normally Legends Day. So yeah, they'll be out there. We got a couple hours. We're not going to do the pit stop challenge because that really was something for the fans who came out that day. And a long time ago, we canceled the concert that would otherwise have been that day. So it really will be the last day of practice before we get out there for the race. But that makes it important, and it means that the race is 48 hours away.
That's right. Well, I thank you for your time stopping by once again. I have to say that at no time have you ever said, I will not appear. You say, I can't do it until such and such, but when you say you can, you will, and I appreciate that. So I appreciate your time. We look forward to an exciting 2 weeks starting tomorrow, Wednesday, August the 12th.
Appreciate what you do in the sport, and it's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. My guest has been the President and Chief Executive Officer of Penske Entertainment, Mr. Mark Miles. We will be back again with another update with a new guest, but until then, I got to say thanks to you for watching. Until next time, see you.